r/ask Reddit. What is the greatest comeback to an insult you've ever heard? My best friend, after an argument with some kid from our school in a shop, we began working our way down the street. Kid, where you going, stuff? Friend, your mom's house. Kid, my mom lives the other way, idiot. Friend, nah, I meant your real mom. Air traffic control doing a poor job of vectoring an Airbus A330 in for landing. Pilot, you've left us too high, I don't think we can make the approach. ATC, you've got speed brakes on that thing, don't you? Pilot, after a noticeable pause, yes, but those are for my mistakes, not yours. A friend in high school on our way to a track meet. He was staring at a car in the parking that was really nice. When this bag saw him. Bag, why bothering looking at that when you know you'll never be able to get one? My friend, the same reason you watch stuff. The entire bus erupted and it's still one of the funniest things I've ever heard. Game over, man, game over. A dude in my class called out a semi-friend of mine, that people are talking behind his back. In fact, that wasn't the case, as far as I know, and that guy said, well, you know what to say about you? Nothing, nobody stuffing cares. I'm just impressed that you're friends with a semi. So there was two girls fighting, and one of them looks at my sister who was minding her own business and says, you go to stuff too. My sister, do you want me to say anything to your mom? My sister started saying go to stuff as a moody, often rude, teenager. She is a couple of years older than me. One day she said it to me after she'd been chastised by our dad for something she had done. I usually shrugged off her insults because they were meaningless. This day, however, I retorted, why would I go anywhere you are? I am still pleased at my 13-year-old brain for that one. I do remember her slamming her bedroom door as her comeback. It's gotta be the alien's locker room scene for me. Hudson, hey Vasquez, have you ever been mistaken for a man? Vasquez, no, have you? Edit, brain derped with the film title. That's what immediately came to my mind as well. Bro, I stuffing love this scene. There's so much characterization for everyone in a fairly quick scene. Great film. English class in middle school. Kid A, yo, Kid B, your mama waited on me at McDonald's last night. Must feel like stuff having a mom that works at McDonald's. Kid B, at least my mom gets out of bed to go to work. English teacher far louder than he realized. The rest of us were laughing so hard, the teacher next door popped her head in to see what was going on. I love it when the entire class laughs enough to bother the teacher next door. Context: John Oliver from HBO interviews Stephen Hawking. May he rest in peace. Joe, and there may be a universe where I am more intelligent than you? SH, there may even be a universe where you are funny. I lost count of how many times I've seen that video and it still makes me laugh. The whole interview is just hilarious. Overheard by me, the school bus driver, one 5th grade student was belittling a 1st grader. When it was time for a comeback, 1st grader shouts out, "Congratulations!" The bewildered 5th grader had nothing to say and went to sit down with her friends in the back of the bus. Okay, that's kind of stuffing adorable. That's pretty perfect. It's like an invitation to think about how much you suck. Joe Pine interviewing Frank Zappa. Joe, I guess your long hair makes you a woman. FZ, I guess your wooden leg makes you a table. How does a dude named Pine have a wooden leg? What if it's mahogany or oak? Many years ago, when we were about 18, a friend of mine was arguing with another person we knew. This person was trying to be a stuff and intimidate my buddy. He says, "My feet are registered." Without missing a beat, my friend replies, "Where? Health and sanitation?" 40 years later I still crack up at this when it comes to mind. A guy makes fun of his bald friend by rubbing his head and saying, "Wow, your head is as smooth as my wife's bottom." The friend also rubs his head and says, "Wow, you're right. That had to hurt." I asked my mother why she always wears makeup despite being in her 40s. She told me she wears makeup so she doesn't look like me. Edit, I was 9. Savage. You deserved that. Someone yelled out in a Walmart, "I'm not ashamed of who I am." Another voice echoed back, "That's your parents' job." Back in middle school I was at Walmart with a friend of mine looking for pants. Being a tomboy, I like to wear baggy boys' pants, nor did I wear makeup. Another kid came up to me and snarkily asked PFFT, "What are you? A boy or a girl?" And without missing a beat I responded, "Why? Do you think I'm hot?" He just got flustered and walked away mumbling obscenities. This was the 90s, so that gender question actually was insulting to my 14-year-old brain. Not the greatest. but I still hold pride for my quick wit back then. Too bad thoughts all gone now. I used to work with this like 70-year-old woman. She was our supervisor, and one day one of the ladies who worked with us told this old lady to kiss my stuff, and the old lady replied, "Where do I start? You're so fat your crack goes all the way up your back." Gran, how many times do we have to tell you? We are not a crematorium. During WW1, Switzerland had a tiny standing army, but they were very skilled marksmen. Wilhelm II of Germany asked what 250k Swiss troops would do if he decided to invade with 500k German troops. The Swiss said, "Shoot twice and go home." Switzerland is actually neutral now in part because they were such good fighters. Many European countries hired Swiss mercenaries to fight for them. At least, that's what I heard in a YouTube video. David Letterman, I'm not as dumb as I look. Tina Fey, how could you be? I miss Tina Fey in movies. 18th century British radical politician John Wilkes was told in Parliament by a political opponent, "Sir, I do not know whether you will die on the gallows or of the pox." Wilkes shot back with, "That depends, my lord, on whether I embrace your lordship's principles or your mistress." Imagine hitting someone with such a fire burn that people are discussing it 250 years later. "If you weren't so stupid, what would you be?" asks the husband. The wife replies, without even skipping a beat, "Single." Ha ha, love it, nice one. I was the one insulted, but not the one with the comeback. I was out with a co-worker and her friends and my buddy and I were leaving a little too early for her sensibilities. She jokingly got up in my face and said, "Smell that? Smells like stuff." A guy playing at the pool table next to us stepped forward and said, "I'm sorry, that must be me. I just ate. It was amazing. Smooth stuff." Definitely a great comeback, but not to an insult, more to an annoyance. I was a camp counselor for a few years at a summer camp. One day my group took a hike to a large rock where we had lunch. My campers were between 8 and 10 years old. This one kid we'll call Jeff keeps poking another kid we'll call Matt in my group to look at this hole in the rock. It's so cool, it's like 6 inches deep, and the other kid is clearly getting annoyed just trying to eat his lunch. He keeps shoving sticks into the hole and trying to get everybody to look at it. Finally Matt just puts down his sandwich, looks at Jeff, and goes, "I'll be 6 inches deep in your mom later if you don't shut up." I was trying so hard to be stern with this kid for saying something so inappropriate, but I kept cracking up. It was just such a disproportionately ridiculous thing to say coming from a 9-year-old. My grandma got into a fight at the grocery store with a guy who told my 9-year-old brother to move the stuff out of the way. They were going at it and his final words were, "Sick my stuff." She said across the store if I could find it, stuff. It, not Walmart. Even better, Aldi. Grandma, don't play. Chelsea Handler told Russell Brand, "The way you are looking at me makes me want to cover my stuff." He replied, "Ma'am, if I had a rubber glove, I'd do it for you." Crowd burst into laughter and she even acknowledged that was good. Chelsea Handler was doing a difficult interview with Kevin Spacey, so she offered him a Vicodin. He answered, "Do you have any left?" My grandparents used to bicker. My grandmother generally came out on top, as she was fairer. One time though, she was asking him to do a bunch of stuff, and he muttered, "If you'd lose some weight, you could do it yourself." She fixed her gaze on him, and glowered, "I'm thinking of getting rid of about 200 pounds of useless fat immediately." He replied, "You're going to cut off your foot." Man, nobody bickers like old married couples bicker. They've had decades to perfect their craft. Quiet guy in my art class got called stuff bait. He replied with, "If I'm the bait, then you're the catch of the day." My 10-year-old cousin was pushed aside by an older student at school who also felt the need to call him a child. My cousin told him not to get his hopes up. On a construction site one afternoon, different trades were working in the same area. Like silly team sports, the Sparkies always hang with the Sparkies and the Turd Wranglers always hang with the Turd Wranglers, and anytime they're together it turns into a pointless stuff measuring contest, usually not literally. One particularly childish exchange saw 2 men chopping back and forth, "My stuff biggest, blah blah blah." Finally one of them spits out this classic, "I've got girth like a can of corn." And the clapback was unforgettable. "But you've got length like a can of tuna." Everyone busted up. Mr. Girth tried to hide his embarrassment, but was tied up. No comeback. And a room of men laughing uncontrollably. Good times. What are you looking at? I'm still trying to find out. When I used to say, "What are you looking at?" To my mom she used to say I don't know, the label fell off. Saw a clip of a stand-up comedian the other day, and he says something along the lines of the first time I had stuff it was terrible. The first time I had stuff. And a woman chimes in with you mean yesterday. Crowd laughs for a while, and while the comedian is waiting for them to calm down you can see the gears turn in his head. Once it gets down to basically a few chuckles, he just says glad you remember, and the crowd just lost their stuff. It was amazing. Okay, now we need the source of this clip. A friend of mine was getting stuffed at by these two identical twin girls in a class I had once. He replied with a troubling look on his face and said, if you two are identical, how come only one of you are hot? That dude played the long game as those two girls looked rather perplexed for the rest of the session. Fixed. I have something similar. Have a group text made up of 5 people. It's called 3 of my favorite people. I expected a better insult from someone of your upbringing and education. Lol, my mom was a librarian and pulled this one on a rude patron. Are you getting smart with me? Would you be able to tell? Glenn McGrath, Aussie cricketer, got frustrated with Ed O'Brien's as his every attempt to stump Brands failed. This is what happened next. McGrath, why are you so fat? Brands, because every time I stuff your wife, she gives me a biscuit. On an Indian roast show, there were 2 bald twin brothers and the roaster told them single quote, you two confuse me on a biological level, you two look like stuff but you are both stuff. I am still waiting for an opportunity to use that. Reminds me of Rodney Dangerfield talking to the bald twins in Easy Money. Why don't you two put your heads together and make an stuff of yourselves? Not heard, but read. Easily the Spartans reply to Philip II of Macedon. As Philip II of Macedon was conquering Greek city-states left and right, Sparta was left alone. Philip had achieved a crushing victory, and Sparta was relatively weak and without walls. Philip sent a message to the Spartans saying, if I invade Laconia you will be destroyed, never to rise again. The Spartans replied with one word, if. This is actually where the word laconic came from. One of my co-workers was cold calling customers, trying to get appointments to drum up business. One of them told him to go stuff his hand, and he responded with, I've got that penciled in for 3. I should be done by 4 if you'd like to come in for an appointment then. The guy laughed his stuff off, and ended up coming in for the appointment. Well, mouth this wild stuff telling random people to go stuff their own hand. I have a bunch, but one of the more memorable ones was back in 8th grade. For context, I didn't make the basketball team 7th grade, but I made the team in 8th grade. This kid that was on the team the previous year but didn't make it currently was really upset and telling me how bad I am and blah blah blah. I told him that if he's better than me then why didn't he make the team, and he replied with, it's just cause of my grades bro. So I replied with, oh so you were just stuffing stupid then? He gave up cause it was either accept that he was bad or accept he was an idiot, so checkmate.